Obviously, it's great to be 5-0. It was a hard-fought game against New Mexico. I thought it was a very emotional game on a lot of different levels for a lot of people that are involved in this program and New Mexico, because there's a lot of crossover between the two programs now. And I thought our kids played really hard, played really tough. It was good to start fast. It was good to kind of pick things up in the second and third quarters of where we were throwing the football. And we look for great improvement this week, starting today on a short week, heading into another very emotional game at San Jose State.
Thank you, Coach. We'll open up for questions.
Hi.
We'll start with Kirk.
How are you, Kirk?
I'm doing fine. How about yourself?
I'm doing great.
Hey, first off, could you talk about Brookshard's performance and kind of an assessment, especially after watching the film?
Yeah, he started slow. We were 3 of 11 for 18 yards. In fact, I got the numbers right here. We were 3 of 11 for 18 yards in the first quarter. I thought he missed a couple. I thought we had a couple that could have been made, but that's always a part of the process and the human element of the game. I thought in his second, third quarters, you got to remember he only played 3 quarters because we took him out in the fourth quarter. I thought he really started to pick it up. I thought he really started to settle in. Maybe it was a byproduct of him being out for 3 weeks and recovering from an injury. You got to remember, you're out there, Kirk. He wasn't even out of practice for 3 weeks. And he was in the training room and getting treatment. So, he ended up 8 of 13 in the second and third quarters, 112 yards. He had 4 rushes for 23 yards and 2 touchdowns. And, when we hit our shots, that's we talk about, improvements every week. We were able to hit 3 shots in that game, all in critical situations, and that began with the 4th and 1 that he threw to Terrell. And, all 3 of those shots led to touchdowns. And then the other thing, too, is, there was 2 defensive holdings and 1 pass interference in there, too. So those are all byproducts of being able to push the ball down the field. And so I thought he really started to settle in. I thought you really started to see him, kind of get his feelings back, especially when he pulled for the touchdown. That was I thought a huge play, and I thought even early on he had an opportunity to pull a couple of those in the first quarter, and I thought he was trying to feel his way through a little bit early. So it was good to see him just continue to improve and get better and really get back in the flow of playing a game, and it really helped us. It really helped us break the game open in the third quarter.
When he's off, especially early, is that kind of not being out there for a while or a mechanical thing? What do you see?
His footwork, his footwork is off, and how he was working up in the pocket was off early, and was it a byproduct? You got to remember he played in Arizona. He played all the way through the third quarter. He got hurt in the second quarter, and so the third quarter was kind of off and on, and then he didn't practice again until really the beginning of last week was when he was back at full speed practice and getting back into that game mode. Sometimes it does take a while. I think you had mentioned that he had a month off before we got back into a game, and really probably about three and a half weeks of that month we're spent in the training room in recovery, not even touching a football or throwing the football. So hopefully that second and third quarters are indications that everything came back quickly for him.
And I want to ask you about Haskell. He came in on that last series.
Absolutely.
He played just 2 plays.
Mm-hmm.
What's the thought process there? Because if you're going to redshirt him, then he's only getting 2 plays, and that's one of his 4 games. So what's your thought process there?
I don't think that anybody's ever said redshirting. I know coaches never talked about that, and I know that that's never come out of my mouth. But on the other end, I think it's a byproduct of what happens over the next 7 games. You know what I'm saying? We got a 7-game stretch here plus, because our goal is to win the Mountain West Conference Championship, and then our goal is to play in a bowl game. So you got 8 weeks plus moving forward, and I think we gotta assess exactly where we are, because the best player is going to play. Who's going to put ourselves in a position to win if Jordan goes down again? And then how do we manage all that? And so I think the whole thought process was he was going to get that last series when Coach and I had talked, and then it happened that New Mexico ran some time off the clock, and that just happened to be, how much was left in the game, and he needs reps. He needs snaps, whether it's 2 snaps, 10 snaps, or 20 snaps. The goal is to get him ready to play, and if he has to go in and win us a football game, he's ready to win a football game.
So originally, would you have tried to get him in there with 4 or 5 minutes left? I mean, how much value was there at the end to actually, be in it all?
Every rep you get as a freshman is valuable. It's just it's a snap. It's a read. It's something we can teach off of. It's something we can coach off of. And, there may be a situation, it may happen this weekend. Who knows, where all of a sudden, remember, we started 3 quarterbacks last year. And the other thing, too, is we're still in COVID protocols. All it takes is for contact tracing. New Mexico just went through a whole bout of contact tracing, 2 weeks ago where, they're getting on the bus and they pull, 8 players off? So who knows how all this ends up and where we're headed with all this stuff, and we got to prepare for every possible situation. And he's going to continue to play every opportunity that we can get him in to continue to play. So if he has to go in the game and win us a game, he's ready to go.
And do you think at this point, if you need to call on him, he's ready to?
Absolutely. I think the team, myself, I know for sure, and the offensive staff and Coach Hoke, we have an unwavering faith in his ability to go win us a game.
How do you see his role going forward? Is he moving up again to number 2, or where does he stand now in the pecking order?
Well, I think you got to remember, when he moved up to number 2, that's when Jordan was hurt. Mm-hmm. And so, obviously your order moves up, and Lucas became number 1 and Will became number 2. Now that Jordan's back, I think, throughout the course of practice, we're going to continue to get Will reps throughout the course of practice as we move to make sure he's ready to go into a game and play and can operate, the entire offense throughout the course of a game if that's what it calls for.
But has Will progressed enough to where he could challenge to be the number 2 and move ahead of
Mm-hmm.
Lucas?
Yes. Yeah. We're I don't know that. I don't know if I can speak to that right now. I do know that, from a program standpoint, we're based on competition. And Coach's first statement, when he took the job all the way back in 2009, and his first statement, his opening statement in every camp is every position is created through competition. And so there's competition every day, and everybody's competing every day for their role.
All right. Also, you guys have said before the season maybe some packages for Will. Do you still see some of that where maybe he could be in at certain times of the game?
Could be. Absolutely. Could be.
Okay.
Could be.
Again,
now, I'm not going to give up too much to you now, but I'm going to tell you what. This is awesome. I love this. This is hey. This is the most interaction you and I have had in a long time, so I appreciate that.
But to clarify on the redshirt thing, because I think a lot of people just assume basically that a true freshman is going to redshirt. But what you're saying is, so would you say it's more
I don't assume anything, because we don't really know what the flow of the season's going to take. You got to remember, a year ago, we're Friday before we play Hawaii, and at 7:30 in the morning, Billy Dunkel and Jordan Brookshire are out with COVID. We're less than 24 hours before we play Hawaii, and we lose one of our quarterbacks, and we lose our starting right guard. We're still in all these processes right now. Nothing has changed in that. And so we have to prepare for every scenario and every situation, and we got to make sure if in some point in time we're in that scenario, our quarterback has to go win us a game, and if that's Will, he's ready to go. So I don't think you can assume anything in that regard.
I guess one thing some people might think is odd is if you get down toward the end of the season and he's played in 4 and you need him in that 5th game, do you regret playing him for just 2 plays in a 4th game?
No, because if he has to go, if we're going to play for the conference championship and all of a sudden something happens, Will has to be ready to go win the conference championship for us. And so every rep that he gets right now is the most invaluable experience that he can have, because he's on the field, he's taking snaps, he's playing, he's directing an offense. And, was it 2 plays? Was it 5 plays? I'd have loved to have gotten more plays. That's just the way the scenario worked itself out. I can't control the scenario, but the opportunity arose to get him in, and we got him in against, a good physical, hard-nosed defense, and, really a great defensive mind in Rocky Long.
Yeah, I just wondered if you're kicking yourself if you get to the end of the year, he's played 5 games and it would have been 4, but for 2 plays.
No, no,
Okay.
no, because the goal in I think you got to remember the goal is to win the game, correct? I mean that's the ultimate goal. In the goal as we get down through the course of the season is to continue to win the games with who is available to play. And this is going to be a tough physical stretch here coming down. We're going to play. We were back out at practice yesterday, less than 24 hours before we even started the game against New Mexico. And every one of our players, the energy level out there was incredibly high, and it was impressive. I mean, it really was. And so, this is the stretch that we're in, and we got to have everybody ready to go in order to win.
Thanks a lot.
Yes, sir, absolutely. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Kirk. We'll go to John.
Hey, John, how are you?
Hope you're doing well. Good to see you.
Good to see you, too.
Did you see anything? I mean, did New Mexico do anything that was at all surprising or you hadn't seen on film? Because it looked like you were still able to obviously have a ton of success running the football.
We were. I mean, no. I in fact, if anything, I thought they played harder. I thought Coach Long and Coach Gonzalez, I thought their kids played tough for 60 minutes, really tough for 60 minutes. I don't necessarily know that they did anything different. I thought there were a couple twists and movements inside, which is, the MO of Coach Long in this defense. And so, I thought they just set out to really play hard and play tough and play physical, and I thought that's what type of game it was. I thought our kids really handled everything up front and really at the point of attack, and our tight ends did a great job. That's why Daniel was one of the players of the game, because he really handled the point of attack on the edge, and that's why we were able to run the ball efficiently and effectively.
You've talked about yards after catch with
Mm-hmm.
him. He's probably talked about it as well with us, Bellinger, and he had that
Correct.
one play. He had to make someone miss, right? It was
Right.
maybe a third down. He had to make someone miss. He did clearly. He went another 10 or 15 yards.
Correct.
Are you seeing that? I mean, it feels like when you watch it, the game has really slowed down significantly.
Yes, and you're seeing it with all of them, and that was the exciting thing about that second and third quarter for us, is we were able to spread the ball around and really start to get more people involved, especially vertically down the field. I know Daniel was targeted 5 times. He had probably another 3 or 4 or 5 in there where, he was in the progression early, it just didn't get to him. And so, it's just continuing to build and be in this building process of, continuing to build the passing game and developing the passing game as we move forward.
This is a fairly simple, game. Obviously, you don't want to turn the football over. Greg Bell's had a couple of times where he's put the ball on the turf. Clearly, he doesn't want to do that.
Right.
What type of conversation do you have with him? Because he's been so valuable, obviously, for you. But obviously, you got to take care of the football as well.
What type of conversation do I have? None. I got my hands full with the quarterbacks and Jordan and Lucas and Will and Jalen. Coach Horton is a phenomenal running back coach, and really that's what he takes care of. And when you work for Coach Hoke, the best thing about it is he allows you to do your job, and the faith and trust he has in each one of us to get that taken care of. And so Jeff will handle that. He'll get it taken care of, and it's not anybody's wanting to do anything. It's just something that we got to be cognizant of moving forward, especially in those situations down, because you look at where they are. One was inside the 10, and then the other 2 were both kind of backed up in our own zone. And sometimes it's not trying to do anything too special. Just get what's there, and then get to the next play.
Great. Thanks, Coach.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, John. We'll go to Derek.
Hi, Dirk.
Hey, how you doing, Coach?
Great. How are you today?
Good. Wondering if you've ever been asked this many questions about a quarterback who's third on the depth chart before.
Believe me, hey, listen. I would love Will. I mean, he's extremely talented. We all know he's extremely talented, but it's a process. I mean, when Jordan and I are talking throughout the sidelines, one of my conversations with Jordan on the sideline, I don't mean to go off on a tangent, but did you watch the Oklahoma game? Did you see the front runner for the Heisman Trophy get benched? I mean, there's a lot of things that take place in the quarterback world that, they just have to work through, and they have to be allowed to work through. And that was part of my conversation with Jordan, is relax. you're in a good situation here. You're right where you need to be. Let's just start to finish some of these plays. And with Will, he's ultra talented, and we all see it, we all know it. But there's a development process through this that we have to get him through in order to go win a game. And that's the whole point of this, is to win the next football game, and that's where we are today. Is how are we going to beat San Jose State, because that's the only thing that matters right now.
And if you beat San Jose State, you guys will have played 6 games and already be bowl eligible. That's always one of the goals when you guys start any season off, to get there potentially that quickly. Is that something you kind of let yourself think about at any point yet?
No, but I can tell you this, to your point. I was fortunate enough to be a part of the first locker room in 2010 at Wyoming when we became and got our 6th win, and to see the amount of men that were crying out of joy and relief, and just to be that first. And really, because I think it was, Mike, you can correct me if I'm wrong, and Kirk, you probably know, but I think it was like 12 years since it had been since we'd won 6 or something like that. And I can just, that's a vivid memory that I will carry with me the rest of my life, was being a part of that team, and starting that legacy really of where we are today. And there's things that as a senior that will never be taken away from you when you win that 6. And that's one, you got a winning record, and you're going to be remembered as a winner. 2, you're going to carry on the legacy of being bowl eligible. And then 3, where do we go from there? Because we have we have the ability to continue to build this and really every week make it something special. So, this is an exciting week in terms of that. San Jose State's going to be a physical, tough game. They got a great defensive front, and they're going to play physical, and it's going to be just another, really grinder for us throughout the course of this game on Friday night.
Thanks, Coach. Good luck.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Dirk.
Is Derek looking for any final questions for Coach?
Come on, Kirk. You don't have one more for me?
What's your favorite color?
Red and black. How about that?
That's 2.
What's Will Haskell's favorite color?
Oh my Lord! That one I can't answer for you. I'm not. He and I aren't that deep. We're close, but we're not that close. So there's some things that are left to be. Just there's boundaries. Let's keep those boundaries.
Looks like John has a question, so we'll go to John Schaefer.
I got one more, Coach. I'm looking right now, and this is, it is you're 26th in the nation in scoring, right? 35.6 points per game. That's a combination of everything that you're doing on field. What's your reaction to that? Where you've come from 2020 to be scoring right now over 35 points per game, and it's not like you've played stiff competition, obviously, so far.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even. Somebody told me yesterday that Utah is the 3rd-ranked defense in the Pac-12 right now.
Right.
And so, I think this is all byproduct of playing to the strengths of our team. And that's something that I know Coach Hoke stresses, and that's, probably the most the best thing about working for Coach is it's about winning football games. And in order to win football games offensively, you have to score. And then when you play to the strengths of the team, I think we're 10th in rushing, and I think we're 20th in time of possession. And now you look at the strength of our defense and the strength of our special teams and kicking game and Matt Ariza. The pieces all kind of just fit together. Are there things we're working on? Absolutely. Absolutely. And there's things that I know and we know as a program that we have to improve on, both defensively, offensively, and special teams wise, and that's what we're working on in practice. But, our job is to score. And as long as we continue to manufacture touchdowns, and that was the thing about New Mexico, we had 4 red zone chances, we had 4 touchdowns. And you're going to win a lot of games when you're scoring touchdowns and not kicking field goals, and we have to continue that and remember what our strengths are. And again, like we talked about last week, keep your strengths, and improve on the things that you need to improve on every day and every week heading into each game.